So they wanted to change singer, basically, and they started talking about the possibility to call me back. Now you hear me?
Perfect, I can hear you.
Finally, I don't know how I did it. I'm sorry for
It's
this
all
delay.
good. How's it going, Aldo?
Okay. No, sorry. First of all, I'm not Aldo. I'm the singer. I'm Roberto Messina, because Aldo had a problem and I had to substitute it at the very end. So I'm very sorry for that.
Oh, perfect. No problem at all, Roberto. Well, it's good to have you.
Thank you very much. Still Secret Sphere, though.
Yes, of course. Well, I'll tell you what, when I do these, I like to start at the beginning of you as a musician and then work our way up to the new record. So, starting from the beginning, where did you grow up and how did you get started in music?
So I grew up in the north of Italy, a small city called Alessandria. And you have to know that all of Secret Sphere are from the same city. So it's a sort of friends band. We are all living close by the same street. The beginning, the original formation was all guys from the same street. And now only two of us live in the same city, but not in the same street yet. So we started just like a group of friends trying to perform some cover versions of some famous metal songs. And then it turned out that we wanted to do our own music because we were having so much fun in doing covers. And when we started to make the new songs from our band that we started to call Secret Sphere after making our own music, we realized that people were enjoying them. And we decided to record the first demo. When we did the first demo, we just sent it to the labels as we used to do in the 80s and 90s. So we started in 1997. When we sent our first demo, it was 1997. And immediately after 1 week, we had a positive reply. It was a very small label, we have to say, from the south of Italy, but still was a great notice for us to have a good reply. So we signed a contract and then it all started from there.
So, Secret Sphere is your first band then, eh?
I had another band before. It was called Avatar at first, and then it changed name into High Lord. So now people listening to Italian metal music probably know them. They are called High Lord, and that was my very first band. But we never published anything. So my very first band publishing is Secret Sphere.
That's so funny. I do know High Lord. So you haven't sung in anything with them then, eh?
I have an old demo that is in an old tape, and we started the band. So I was one of the former members of the band, and then after rehearsing for a couple of years and doing some concerts too, we split, me and them, and they changed singer, and so they started to publish the first album. But I still have the tape at home.
Now, what's funny too, I had no idea that you sang with Hemisphere as well.
Oh yeah. It was after the first album with Secret Sphere that one amazing guitarist from Rome, Fabio Cerrone, because he knew the guys from the label that we were into. So he contacted the label and the label suggested my name to record Hemisphere album. We got to know each other, we became friends, and we did this amazing album together. I mean, he's a monster, and all the members of the band are monsters. So I was very young, I was 21, and it was a honor for me to take part into it.
So tell me, Roberto, how do you get started in music? Like, what growing up, did you take formal lessons? Like, what got you initially interested in music?
So first of all, my older brother, he's 6 older than me. He's a guitarist, but self-taught guitarist. So I grew up listening to 80s songs, music and that stuff, and he was performing the solos and everything. And so that's how I got into music and improved my ear. After that, I started singing with my friends. First of all, I was singing in a choir in the church. So that was my very beginning as a singer. And it helped me to got in the tune. I started singing with my friends, and actually I didn't have the idea to sing. I wanted to play keyboards. But then a friend of mine told me, why don't you sing? You have a nice voice, try to sing. And I say, why not? Because I was really bad in playing keyboards, by the way. So I think that was a better option. I started singing with them, and we were doing like covers from Nirvana, Guns N' Roses, And after that, I had this period when I started singing Iron Maiden and Halloween at home as a self-taught singer. After a couple of years, I was about to break my voice because I was using no technique at all, and I was just performing it, imitating probably the sound. It came out well, but it was a little bit hurting from my vocal throat. So I started to take lessons, and I found a very good teacher. Actually, she was the same teacher as Roberto Tiranti from Labyrinth.
Oh, that's insane. That's so funny.
Yeah, her name is Paola Pittaluga. He's from Genoa, still in the north of Italy. And I started taking lessons from her, and I did it for 8, 9 years. After 8, 9 years of lessons, I quit. Not because I didn't need them anymore, because you can still improve yourself all the times, but just it was logistically difficult to go on because I moved to Rome. I was living in Rome for a very long period, and so that's how it is.
So, jumping back to early days of Secret Sphere, tell me about recording the first album, Mistress of the Shadow Light. You guys, I believe it was New Sin Studios with Luigi Stefanini, if I'm not mistaken, who did like Dark Moor and a bunch of other bands.
Yes, exactly.
How was it sort of your first time in the studio working with him?
So that was a period of really magic atmosphere for us. As I told you, it was our first album. We had a quick and positive reply, both from the audience and from a label. And we went straight into the studio to record the first album. So we decided, we were like from 19 years old, the younger was the bass player, Andy Buratto, and up to 21. Me and Aldo were 21 at that moment. So we moved from an entire month to the New Scene studio, and we spent like a long holiday there. You can imagine 6 guys having fun, doing music, their passion, and being together for 1 month. So it was really beautiful moment. And also the recordings are influenced by this positive atmosphere that we had at the moment into the band. And that positive atmosphere is here also today. I won't anticipate you this. So we are again in a very, very nice moment. We have so much fun playing together, composing. I think that this is one of the things that make an album special. Because, you can be talented, you can be really technical, but then music is a natural expression of instinct. And if you are good-mooded, positive, vibrations can be heard into the music. That's what I think. And that's why I think that this album, the first one and also the second one, A Time Never Come, really appreciated because they were composed and recorded into this very special atmosphere.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I look at in Canada, for example, where I'm from, there used to be a studio called Le Studio, which is where Rush and Queensryche and a million other bands did albums. And it was very much sort of like that, like sort of a retreat for the band. You all come together and sort of live the album for like a month or two.
Yeah, this is very important for musicians to be apart from stress or from everyday life, to focus on your music and on the components of the band. If you have the opportunity to compose like this is better. But for example, now we have families, we have jobs. Obviously, you cannot live for 1 month very easily. and so you do it in the spare time. But doing it into the spare time is just a limit that we managed get over. So even if we don't have that much time to dedicate, we still manage to take those hours, focus and enjoying the opportunity that we have because we feel so lucky to have this. I mean, my life will be so boring without music.
I completely agree. Yeah, I say it all the time. I say a lot of the cool stuff I've gotten to do in my life is because of music.
Yeah.
I think of how many musicians would never tour or never, go out, or all the friends in your life, right, are because of that passion.
Yeah.
So for the third record of Secret Sphere, The Scent of Human Desire, you guys worked with Akin Kohler.
Sure.
Tell me about working with. I gotta say, by the way, still has one of my favorite song titles ever, "Virgin Street '69."
Ah,
Tell me about working with Akin and doing that record.
so Akim was really professional. It was one step forward into our career. And also staying there was kind of the same as I told you before. We had a sort of retired there, and so we managed to leave the situation 100%. So Akim not only was a sound engineer, but he worked as a producer for that album, and that makes a difference. That gave us a lot to learn and turn our music into something more mature that we also enjoy from that point of view. I tell you that also that from that experience, Aldo Lonobile, the guitarist, that was the moment when he decided to start a career in recording and engineering. Now he has his own studio. That is the studio where we recorded the last album, Black and Heartbeat. So from that very first moment when we worked with Akim Kohler, he had the first decision to open his own studio and do that career. So you can imagine how enlightening was to work with such a professional. And the album was very different from the previous two albums that were more into power metal music, speed metal music. We decided to explore new sonorities because we also have enjoyed very different types of music. Like, for example, you mentioned Virgin Street 69. That's because we also like hard rock and Motley Crue. I mean, these are also our influences. The only critic that I would do to that album, a self-critic, is that in that period we were not completely united as a band. We had some discussions going on about the style, especially with our drummer Luca Cartasegna, our drummer at the time. I think that we came out with an album that was not completely coherent, not united as a sound, just like a representation of what was going on inside the band.
Yeah, I can believe that. I will say I love the record, but I think one of the things I love most about it, like you say, is the diversity because the first two albums, as much as I love them too, are more, speed, symphonic, power metal, whatever. And I think the Scent of Human Desire, you guys really reached out into different areas.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can see how that can bother some band members, especially if you wanted to do the more power metal type sound, right?
I think, I mean, we were like split in two parts. Aldo was more into power metal and I would say thrash riffs, thrash guitar riffs. The bass player and the second guitar player were more into glam and hard rock. And then you can imagine the drummer, he was into black and death metal. So it was kind of weird. There are some sonorities that are really, really different and that he wanted to put inside the songs, but we started to disagree on too many things, and that's why after a short period we split with the drummer.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Andy being into hard rock, of course, Hell in the Club, and I just interviewed Marco for that as well, talking
Yeah,
about that very thing.
yeah. You can still see it today.
So I know, while you were doing Secret Sphere in this period, you also worked with Alchemist. How did you come to join the band, and tell me about working with them?
So Alchemist is not going on at the moment. It started in 2002. After the first release with Secret Sphere, this band from France contacted me and they wanted to make this other power metal album. It was another debut album from them. I listened to the music, I loved it, and I say yes. So I traveled to France and I spent another month with these guys and got friends. So we had a nice time together. We were on the mountains to record the album, I remember. It was really nice, and let me tell you that I love both albums we made together, A Meeting in the Mist and Through Painful Lanes, and both of them with Nuclear Blast. So it was, sorry, the second was with Nuclear Blast. So it was a good occasion to do a side project, but with the same atmosphere of a real band. because we were not like strangers ignoring each other. We got friends. We started to visit each other when we could. So that was more into prog power metal stuff. The guitarist Arnaud Menard is the one who composed most of the songs, and he's still into music nowadays, singing and doing death metal music too.
That's funny. I don't know the debut, but Through Painful Lanes, I listened to a lot when it came out. That would have been what, about 2009, I think it came out?
2000, I guess a little bit before, if I'm not wrong.
Oh, here it is. Oh, yep, 2008. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
just seeing it here. Yeah, I used to play The Beast Within on my radio show all
Mhm.
the time when that record
Oh,
came out.
nice, nice. If you are in love with power metal, I really recommend you to listen also the first album. There's a song called Nameless Son, who is, I think it's my favorite of that album. If you want to see if you enjoy it.
Okay. Oh, it's a two-parter I'm seeing. Okay. I'll
Yeah,
definitely it's an intro and then okay, got it. Cool.
intro and
Yes, I
then.
will definitely have to look that one up for sure. So I know it was around 2010 or so, I think it was. You ended up leaving Secret Sphere, correct?
2012.
2012. Okay, yeah, that was
Yeah.
when Michele came in.
Michele, yes, yes. Yeah, Michele Lupi substitute me.
Now, was the plan all along to bring him in, or were you kind of, like you'd mentioned, having kids and other stuff? Were you just getting on to other things in your life and didn't have time for the band anymore?
So no, I would never cheat on my music. So the reason why I quit the band at the time was because something went in the middle of our artistic inspiration. I mean, we were about to compose an album. We composed it, and I was living in Rome, first of all, while they were still in the north of Italy. So we were a little bit far away physically, but we were still working together for years, and it was working anyway. But that special album, we had some problems. I mean, we recorded the album separately. I was doing my recordings on the music that they had already composed, and when I finished my recordings, I started receiving from some members of the group some critics about my style and my decision of vocal composing. I have learned to accept critics because normally they take you into upper level. So I'm not against receiving critics, but what they wanted me to do was to change a lot of things that I was really convinced about. So we tried to make a deal, and we didn't find this deal. So yeah, but I mean, it didn't happen in a very brutal way or in a, there was an opposition, but it was on the artistic plan. And I said, okay, if we are going on different position concerning the artistical point of view, I think maybe it's better to take our own ways, and we can still work as musicians, being friends. But maybe if we disagree on the music we should do together, maybe it's better not to do it. So I left the band because I didn't want to record a different album from the one I had already recorded. And then they had to find a substitute, and they found an amazing substitute. I mean, Michele Lupi is not a substitute. He is a great singer and a great professionist in music. He is a keyboard player. They had luck in finding a very good one. So they made a couple of albums with him. Then they recorded a live with him, and they had 7 years together with Michele Lupi since the moment I came back.
And now, what brings you back into the band? Was it Michele who ended up quitting, or did the band just decide we want to go back to what we were doing before?
So it was Aldo and Andy, the bass player, who had a talk, and they had a lot of different points of view on music with Michele, and they really wanted to change singer. So they were not happy about the atmosphere that was in the band. It's not the first time I mentioned the atmosphere in the band because, as I already told, this is something very important for us. How do you feel when you play? We have to be happy, we have to be inspired, and we have to be free to do what we want and what we like. So they were not happy anymore, just like in a relationship, and they didn't want to pretend and go on like in a career of professional musician, doing it as a job. So they wanted to change singer basically, and they started talking about the possibility to call me back. So they just asked me, and I said yes, why not? I was happy to go back. I mean, all the things that we left behind were far in the past, because 7 years is not like a short period. So we were probably ready to start again in a proper way and in a happy way. And so it is, because we made 2 albums together now since my return. And I have to say that it's really, really enjoyable and fruitful. We took the right decision to reunite the band.
Oh, absolutely. Now, tell me about that first record coming back. You know, Lifeblood wound up being one of my favorite records of 2021. I really, really loved that record, and I liked where the music was heading for that record. Tell me about coming back into the band for that. Did you have any influence on like the composing of the music, or did you just deal with more the lyric side of it?
So it was a weird period, because it was the COVID pandemic period when we started to compose the album. And again, we were all separated, but this time it went well. So they did all the music. And as they started to compose this album, even before my rejoining the band, they had already some vocals composed by Alessandro Del Vecchio. You also probably know him, maybe.
Funny enough, I'm interviewing him in 2 hours.
Oh, come on. Give him my regards,
It's funny
please.
because I thought I was originally going to be interviewing Aldo, and I was all excited to tell him, Aldo, by the way, I'm interviewing your band member later
Oh,
today.
yeah. Small world. Alessandro Del Vecchio composed 3 of the vocals in the album Lifeblood. And let me tell you that some of them are really hard to sing. For example, do not thank him for the song Alive, which is really a pain in the ass in the concert, but it's still lovely to sing and perform it. I mean, it's a really nice song, and he has a great voice. And so I found this album already partially composed, and I started to compose the vocals for the rest of the songs, really, really enjoying the fact that I was by the seaside in that moment. So I was composing my lyrics on my computer, but with the sea in front of me. It was really a good period, a good memory of this album. And Lifeblood was really a return to music for me, because during my 7 years without Secret Sphere, I was still doing some music, but like acoustic concert with the guitarist from Rome. And I tried also to publish an album with a band called Physical Noise, but we didn't get to do the recordings for many reasons. So this was my very first album published after my split with Secret Sphere. I was really happy to go back in studio and to go back singing. If I can make a metaphor, can you imagine a man who is not seeing a woman for 7 years and then go out from jail and find a very good-looking woman? That's how I felt.
So let's talk the new record, Unblackened Heart. So coming out November 10th on Frontiers. And in a lot of ways, it sounds like a continuation of a lot of the vibe from Lifeblood, but this album feels a lot heavier. Would you agree with that?
I agree on the part that is heavier. I would say that it is on the track of Lifeblood, but if I have to attach it to another Psychosphere album, I would go back to the first 2 albums. I think that Mistress of the Shadowlight and especially A Time Never Come, our second album, I think that need a third one for her trilogy. And if I have to choose a third one, it will be Blackened Heartbeat.
When it comes, so again, is it Aldo primarily writing the music? I think he works with Antonio a lot of the time, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He's the one composing, I would say, 70% of the music. Antonio Agate, our former keyboardist, is arranging everything and also composing some of the songs. The rest of us will write lyrics and his own instrument parts. The only one who is suffering from Aldo composition is Marco, the drummer, because this album is really, really killer. And when he plays, you have to see him rehearsing. After one song, he's already sweat like a pig. So But I mean, he's also improving himself if he ever needs to. But he's doing some new rhythms, and he's really, really going technique this time.
Yeah, that's honestly like I'm a guitar player and singer myself, so I don't usually notice drums unless they're really exceptional or absolutely terrible. Drums just kind of blend into the background for me a lot of the time. But I will say this record, I definitely noticed the drumming. Marco just absolutely killed it. A lot of some of the rhythms and things he was doing were really, really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Marco Lazzarini is one of my dream drummer. I have been chasing him since like 15 years because I saw him playing live once and I wanted him to be my drummer in a band. I don't know. So I created a band to play with Marco, and that band was called 6008 Days. 6008 Days. If you want to check it out, there is a song called The Bad Day. We just made a single together. It was me, Marco Lazzarini at the drums, and other two nice musicians. And so that was my way to play with him. And then after years, I managed to be with him in Secret Sphere. That was a dream come true for me.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny when I interviewed him, I didn't realize the history he has with Secret Sphere. I mean, obviously he's been in the band for a long time, but I guess he's kind of been sort of on the edge for many years as well, eh? And he's been a friend of the band long before he joined.
Yes, yes. We were already friends before. You know, coming from the same city, we all know each other. He had before like a thrash band where he played, and that's where I see him live when he was playing thrash metal music with this band. And so yes, basically we all know each other here, but he's one of the ones that you really want to have as a drummer. And consider that for Secret Sphere, having a drummer was a hard challenge because we, after splitting with our first drummer, we changed like four. So probably Marco is the fifth. So it was not easy to find somebody, I mean, good enough to play these things, but yeah, there are a lot of good drummers. But still, we look for one who is inserted into a friendship atmosphere. We don't want to pay a performer. We like to have a real band. And now we have it, fortunately.
Yeah, it's funny you kind of mentioning everybody knowing each other. Like where I'm from a city of about 200,000 people or so, and it's the same thing. All the musicians know each other here.
Yeah, our city, Alessandria, is 100,000, so more or less.
Similar kind of idea then.
Yeah.
So forgive me, I don't have the lyrics to the album, but as I understand, Unblackened Heart is a sort of concept album, a story about a psychologist, Dr. Julius B. Tell me more about the story of this album.
So when we decided to do this album together, we were looking for some interesting topic to speak about. And the good thing when chemistry works is that whatever you say will match with what the other one will say. So this happened. Aldo had a story in mind about a sort of supernatural psychologist who will live the experiences of his patients and use this experience to have a parallel real life to his physic one that was basically depressed and empty. So he used the minds of his patients to go into a sort of different world, okay, that is physically active. And what I had in mind, basically, I have a friend that is a psychologist, and his name is Giulio Borla. So that's where Julius B comes from.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. And this friend of mine, being a psychologist, has a very complicated life. I mean, he's not only good in helping the others, but he is a problematic person as well. I wanted to speak about this complexity because also with Secret Sphere we have always explored the mind, unconscious, and concepts like this. By the way, Secret Sphere comes from a concept of unconscious. So the sphere that is secret is basically the former idea was to speak about the unconscious of everyone. So we are fascinated by this kind of topics. We put together the ideas that I had and the real story of my friend Giulio, and we matched it with the story of Aldo. And we engaged also a writer that is Costanza Colombo. Her nickname in art is X. just acts like the song from Secret Sphere album where Michele Luppi is singing, because she also collaborated with them during the doing the lyrics of that album. So we called the Costanza back to work with us writing the lyrics and the concept also. And she was really, really cooperative and helpful in finding the right mood of the lyrics, because they are dark and they are at the same time romantic. That's what we needed for this album.
Yeah, one song like I love, my power metal heavy stuff, all that kind of thing. So like Jay's Serenade and Black and Heart and the heavy tunes I definitely love, but one song honestly that since hearing this album I can't stop humming is Anna.
Oh,
Tell me about that song.
I'm glad you noticed, because Anna is a bilogy with with another song that is called One Day I Will. They go together. So one of the experience that we wanted to tell with these two songs is the experience, a real experience, real life experience of a girl who left Ukraine because of the war, and her name is Anna, and he moved to Italy because of the war with her daughter, which is 8 years old. I met them and got to know them for, I mean, not for this purpose, but by chance. And I was really, really hit by their story. And I decided to put it into the album because using the excusation, telling about stories of the patient's life, of the psychologist, we had the chance to tell real stories of people. And I really wanted to put this one into songs. In One Day I Will, there is this description of the destruction of a land that forced them to leave. And Anna is a little bit different. I asked to the protagonist, I asked Anna to give me an explanation of the emotions she felt when she left. And instead of giving me that, he sent me a video of the moment when the father had to leave them because they were about to leave. I mean, these two persons are separated, so he's not the husband anymore, but he was still leaving his daughter, going to live in another country for unprecise, I mean, a length that he doesn't know, a period that is long enough, like a year or 2 years or 3 years or forever. And so I was really hit by this story, and I put it into a double song. That's what Anna speaks about, the point of view of the father.
That's amazing. Very, very powerful stuff.
Hmm.
Are there any other songs on the album that are either a favorite for you or any that just stand out, maybe with an interesting story or anything like that?
Mm-hmm. So we had another single going out. We just published the single of a song called Confession. And this single speaks about a murder. In Italy, we had a murder of a girl that was like 30 years old. And all TVs and papers were speaking about these details. And it was not only something obviously awful, because it's a murder, a real one, but it's also from the point of view of a reader, if you like to read those books where you have to try to guess who is the murderer. This is really a complex story because there are many, many characters involved, and you never know who will be the one who has murdered this poor lady. This is going on in Italy still now. So nowadays there hasn't been a trial yet. And so this song is about this fact that really happened.
It's really interesting. I'm just looking at the lyrics here. It's
Mhm.
funny. There's lyrics for 3 songs on the album right now, and I'm guessing, when it comes out, the rest will eventually make its way out.
So if you want to check it out, this song, the lady who's being killed here in Italy, her name is Alice, like Alice Neri, Neri, and the lyrics is a little bit weird because it starts with the description of what they were living, so like a romance at the beginning, and then the second part of the song will cite Romeo and Juliet from Shakespeare, because in the real story of the murder, they used to exchange writings with sentences from Romeo and Juliet. So I put it into the lyrics of the songs. to describe the what happened.
That's so interesting. I'm just reading this now. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take a deeper dive into the lyrics once they all become released. Like you say, there's some very interesting topics and things going on within these lyrics. So you guys have the new record coming up. Are there any plans for touring on this new material?
Yes, definitely. First of all, we will make a debut concert here in Italy, in our hometown, where we don't play since like 15 years. And we decided to perform in the theater of our own town. And this is a very special event that I also want to explain abroad, because we decided to donate all the funds coming from the concert to the neurosurgery department of the hospital of the town, for many reasons, but basically because we know the doctor working there, the surgeon, and he's a miracle man, saving lives in the local community. And we wanted to give him, first of all, a gratitude gift, and second, if we have the chance to fill the theater, concrete support to the health department that he is leading. And we are opening the concert to everyone. Obviously, people from abroad cannot, or maybe don't want to travel here for one single concert, even if we have a fan from New York coming
Oh, that's
with his
amazing.
family. Yeah, because by the way, we are close to Milan, so maybe flying to Milan is not that difficult. But we decided to open the charity event to everyone. And even if, for example, a guy from Japan decided to buy a ticket and to devolve it, and he bought it online and giving to us the number of the seat that he bought, we will make it available as a free ticket for people with disadvantaged situation through an association in our town. And so we are also trying to do something useful for the community, involving people from all over the world. One of the magicians of internet.
That's amazing. That's so cool when people come together for causes like that.
Yeah, we are not new to this. I mean, also with Michele Lupi, they did a donation at the debut concert for another album that they did with Michele. And so this is our second initiative in this sense.
Are there plans to do a proper tour? Do you have anything scheduled? I'm guessing it'll probably be next year, right?
It will be next year, and it is still on the way to be defined. But what we have for this year only in December is a mini Japan tour. So we will go back to Japan and perform the last album and A Time Never Come album, the second one. That's why I told you they are connected. We will do a concert only for these two albums in Japan. I mean, 3 concerts.
Oh, so you're playing both albums in their entirety?
Entirely A Time Never Come, plus I would say more than a half of this new album.
Ah, okay. Very interesting.
We were specifically asked to play A Time Never Come, and so we will make it from the beginning to the end, plus new songs from the new album.
Oh, that's amazing. Have you guys talked about, I know it's hard to say with a new album just coming out, but are there plans in the future to continue making records together?
For sure. We are composing, I mean, an album every year and a half. And unless we will have like problems, I think we will go on this schedule.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This was interesting. Loving the new record. Best of luck with it. And hoping we get to do this again in a couple of years.
Yeah, thank you, Brendan. It was a great pleasure to talk with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Roberto.
Bye. Have a nice day.
You too. Have a good one.
Bye.